Hey, Keith. How you doing? Good. Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool. Good to see you. How is it? Yeah. Okay, Sammy. You ready to roll there? All right. Yeah, we're all ready.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled Sylvania Township Board of Trustee meeting for February 18th at 6 p.m.
Call the roll. Mr. Crandall? Here. Mr. Genowine?
Here.
Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Simcoe? Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Neil, did you see any corrections for the February 4th meeting?
No, it looked fine by me.
Okay, we'll have Mr. Mahoney making the motion and Mr. Genowine
Yes.
seconding it. And all in favor, Mr. Crandall?
Abstain.
Okay, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes. And that brings the Lucas County Engineers Office up.
If you got to turn on down here, you can see better information.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. I'll give you a real quick executive summary before we get into the slide presentation. We did hire Fire and Finch to do an H&H study on the stream to try to determine what improvements could be done to reduce the likelihood of flooding in the 10 Mile Creek, mainly on her road, in that area where it has flooded quite a few times. And we did try to come up with something that was economically feasible to do. And of course, as probably everyone knows, you can't eliminate all possibility of flooding, but you can make some improvements so it is much less likely to flood. And basically, the alternative that we think is the most feasible, we would basically be removing obstructions from the stream and adding width to the stream to provide side channel storage. And we were trying to get the majority of the homes out of the 100-year floodplain. So they would not be forced by federal mandates to purchase flood insurance, but there still would be some likelihood of flooding, and we think that they would still, most of them, be within the 500-year floodplain when you have like a 0.2% chance every year. And basically the cost of the improvements would basically, if it was financed from the township's share of your stormwater utility funds that are used to capital improvements, it would take the equivalent of about 3.5 years of your capital improvement funds to do the improvements. If you could maybe do it over 8 years or something with financing, you could use half your funds for that and half for something else. So that might be an alternative. So with that, Bob Newbert has some slides here that try to illustrate that in more detail.
We just wanted to go ahead and give you a little bit of background in this area. I don't know if you can see the pointer there. This is Her Road, and this is the Her Road Bridge, and this is the drainage area that comes into this. Talking quite a large area, 66.8 square miles. That is from USGS's numbers and their calculations. That is not ours. So it's obviously more than just Sylvania Township and even Lucas County. You can see it actually goes into Michigan and definitely over into Fulton County. Let's see here. This is the data, and it actually comes from USGS, the United States Geological Survey. So this is their data that they came up with for that area out there. Just a little bit more background. The convergence of the two creeks there, 10 Mile Creek and Prairie Ditch, right in here, couldn't have happened in a worse place. This is all clay out here, poor drainage, and so you've got that going against you as well. We're showing you that this is definitely a wetland area. Here's the, maybe not going north so much as it is south. Going south, this is through the Metro Park right here. It's definitely all a wetland area. So that again indicates poor drainage. Give you a brief description of some of our floodplain stuff. We have the flood, there is a difference between the floodplain, which is what they're calling here the flood fringe. That is what I call the floodplain, and the floodway. Two different concepts. The floodway is where the moving water is going through there. So the flood fringe is where you just got standing water. So this was some background on some of the insurance costs. This is if your house is way down here of the ditch, or if your house goes all the way up here. Obviously it gets better the higher up you go. So this was just some of the likelihood, your percentage, your chances of flooding through there. So we did go ahead, and this is a JPEG image of the floodplain. I do have, after we're done with this PowerPoint presentation here, I will actually go into the GIS and we can zoom in and zoom out and actually look at more detail of all this stuff. But you can see this is a large area of concern there. So this is our contours and our LiDARs in this area. This is Central and Chrissy right here. And then this is Central and her. So we have high water marks out there. I don't know if you can see it on here, but the 100-year floodplain out here at the Her Road Bridge is currently at 668. And we have already measured in March of 2009 that the 100-year floodplain was 669.8, 1.8 foot higher than the 100-year floodplain in March of 09. So just because you got somebody that says you've got the 100-year floodplain, you could have a unique set of circumstances, which is what happened in March of 09. We had maybe log jams and then ice jams and then 2 inches of rain, and it was just the perfect storm that came together, and we actually went higher than the 100-year flood zone. So that's the PowerPoint presentation. We do have, I do have the ability to zoom in and zoom out with this map here. Basically what I'm showing here is that area. The heavy red line would be the new 100-year floodplain. The heavy yellow line is what I'm predicting would be the 500-year floodplain. And then we actually have a floodway that comes in through here if you get tighter in there. The further away you get from this project would start up here at Sylvania Avenue. Not quite to Sylvania. This is the railroad bridge that goes up to Sylvania. So we're right here at this railroad bridge, coming down through here. Here we have Centennial, and then it comes around through Her Road here, and the end of the project would go just beyond Her Road. So it doesn't go all the way back up here quite to Sylvania. But that's basically what we got. The further away you get, quite honestly, you get beyond Central Avenue, over here, Spit and Dival, and everything like that, where I'm not sure of what the impact is going to be over here, flooding-wise. So my analysis took into account the residents and businesses along Central Avenue and along Her Road, and that was it. And I didn't do anything else. We've got 40 houses that would be directly affected by this, and 11 businesses that would be directly affected by this project. What we tried to do here was come up with approximate premiums, annual premiums, that these residents and businesses actually pay in flood insurance. This is based on their value of their home. It has nothing, if this particular house is paid off and has no mortgage, we didn't calculate that in here. So this would be an average amount there. So we've got the residents are paying about almost $35,000 a year in premiums, and the 11 businesses are probably paying about $34,000 a year in premiums. So that's just based on the value of their property that's within, this is what the Lucas County Auditor has the value of the property as. So, with that, Keith, I don't know if anybody has any specific questions, or if you want to go into more detail. It's about all I had for a background.
Basically, the estimated cost of the improvements was $1.4 million, and we estimate for the 100-year storm that this would lower the base flood elevation about 1.4 feet. Wasn't that correct? So it would not only take those homes out of the floodplain where they would not be required to purchase the flood insurance, although it might be well advised to purchase less expensive flood insurance since they still do have a risk of flooding, but it also would prevent it from topping Hurricane and Central Avenue and some of those other problems that we have besides just flooding the homes. So there is more value in addition to just the reduced flood insurance premiums. And basically, Sylvania Township pays about $825,000 a year into the stormwater utility, and we set aside basically half of that to use for capital improvements. So basically, I think what might be a reasonable plan to do is try to finance this over 8 years and then use half of it for that and half of it for other things. So we'd say that it's going to take several years to get the plans done, approved, and the construction done. And there's probably another couple of years before people could get their properties removed from the floodplain. It has to be submitted to FEMA and approved, so it will take some time. It won't happen overnight.
So are you're saying the houses that you've shown, they would be out of the floodplain as a result of a dredging or whatever you're going to do to clean it up? 40
homes.
So those homes on her would be out of the flood?
Not all the homes.
But it would be in a lower district of flood insurance?
Right. The 3 houses directly adjacent to the 10 Mile Creek would still remain in the floodplain.
Okay.
And for a point of clarification, the residents in Sylvania Township are already paying this tax. It's not a new tax.
Right,
And
yeah.
They've been paying it for a couple of years, and this money that Keith was talking about is already paid by the taxpayers. There'll be no additional tax to the taxpayers.
And there also is a possibility of getting a grant. We think $500,000 would be the maximum we possibly could, and we don't know if we could get one or not. So we could try to get a grant and get that number reduced, and so maybe you could pay it off in 5 years instead of 8 years or something if it was done.
What about,
if we could get a grant.
Sorry to interrupt, Keith, I apologize. What about the, we've got Spencer Township to the south, and we've got Berkey up here. Do they have any, Springfield, I'm sorry.
Richfield.
Yeah, Richfield. Do they have any, we're seeing a lot of, again, we're just talking here, but we see some of their water coming through. Is there a way, a portion we could take for that?
Well, there's the other alternatives, other than the stormwater utility. We haven't done any in the 14 years I've been over here, is the petition ditch procedure, where you file ditch petitions and everybody is assessed proportional to the benefits they receive. And basically, you have 2 types of benefits in that case. You have the people who get the real benefit, which is the reduced flooding and or reduced crop damage. So those people receive real benefit, and those other people, like you're talking about, typically get assessed because of the improvements they've done to the land that does increase the runoff. And basically all of that land, 97% of it, is farmland. And it's been farmland for an awful long period of time. So typically it ends up getting assessed about half the projects under that type of procedure to those people if it would get approved. But then there's additional expense of doing all the assessments and everything else. It's a very cumbersome process in an urban area. We have a lot of things. You're going to have a whole lot more people that don't see a benefit. They don't have any reduced flooding. And I think if you did that too, you'd probably want to improve the ditch further so you'd have improved farm outlets, and that would take years. But there is that alternative that could be pursued. Like I said, we haven't done it in the 14 years I've been here in Lucas County, but a lot of rural counties do it.
I don't know if Scott remembers, in 1982, we tried to get money, federal money, money to clean 10 Mile Creek from the county line all the way to the city of Sylvania. And they said, hey, great plan, you got a lot of flooding out here, but you don't have enough homes to be qualified. You need to show at least 10% of your homes in that area underwater, and I think we were around 6%. And so we weren't even within the ballpark. We needed 10% more to get this.
If you spread out the entire cost on a per acre basis and everybody paid the same, it worked out to about $32 an acre or something like that. But that isn't how you'd end up assessing it, but that's all of a whole bunch of acres.
Brian, that was 10 years ago, you guys?
That's about 1980.
Okay. So that's at 6%, we're talking 30 years ago, okay.
It hasn't increased that much. There's not that many residents out there.
Really, from 1981?
Not in the floodplain.
Yeah, no, you gotta pick up that amount. And that was just some federal program that they had years ago. I've never seen anything like that since then. You know,
Okay.
They usually do not have any kind of program to do just drainage improvements anymore. You have to be looking at water quality type of things.
Keith, what are the improvements you're contemplating? I know Neil said dredging, but I think you said...
Well, it's taken some of the obstruction of railroad bridge abutments, and we have the detailed study. Brian hasn't, I've got a copy, and we have it digitally too, that you can look at the entire detailed study and look since.
Yeah, basically, though, John, and that's
What you plan to do?
What they're doing is building a shelf on the north side of that stream. Doing a one-side ditch type of construction, building a shelf coming up and then coming up with a slope here. And it was 40 feet. They needed 40 feet on that north side and then coming up.
So then, will you get eastments then for that?
Oh, yes, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's, what, the railroad bridge and then the other?
Yeah, the railroad bridge had some abutments that they wanted to get just beyond those, that helped, because those abutments are still there and it's a constriction. But the railroad bridge was taken out, but there's still some abutments, that they took those abutments out, that'll help flow going with that area too.
Wasn't
But
there...
they weren't touching any of the other bridges. They were metering back with their plan at the other bridges.
Just the railroad bridge?
Just the railroad bridge abutments. Another private bridge, they metered back in toward that.
An important point to note is that according to this study, it did not increase flooding downstream, which, because you still have the same restrictions at the bottom end, it's storing the water upstream in this shelf that we're building.
There is a little bit, after the railroad bridge, where it went up like about 1/10 of a foot or something like that, an inch or so, but it dies down by the time it gets to Sylvania Avenue. So it's not like you rush it way up there. Because basically you're just inline detention is what you're getting on this. Because we're not changing the bridges at Centennial, is big enough, so is the one at Herrick, so is that private bridge actually was designed for 100 years.
Maybe have a question?
Yeah, I got a quick question. You said you thought the budget would be about 1.4 million to do this? And that would be, and we pay how much? 825,000, you said, township?
Right, and half of that goes to the water quality stuff, and half of it is used for capital improvements at this point. We'll reevaluate that as we go along, but that's the budget we have at this point.
It seems to me that the trustees paid to have that ditch cleared. Who's going to do this? Is the county going to do it?
It would be like the stormwater utility. It would be like their contractor.
We seem to have done a pretty good job of cleaning that ditch out. We probably didn't go far enough, but,
Or you mean by removing the water.
Well,
right.
There's a lot more than that. We're
There's
getting
a
a
lot.
lot of dirt out. And we're removing a foot and a half out of the bottom of the stream too.
Well, according to what you showed me as a taxpayer, I guess I'd have to read that report. I don't know. I guess that's readily available. But I don't know. You county guys, you talk a good show, but I haven't seen much from you because you didn't give us any help the last time we asked. If I'm correct on that, when we cleared that ditch, that's the superintendent there. Did they give us any money or did?
The stormwater utility wasn't in existence then.
Yeah.
We didn't have any source of funding.
Oh,
This year, we have some projects, stormwater projects planned, and we're seeking reimbursement through the district.
oh, so we're going to get some of our taxpayer money back.
Okay.
I guess I'd just like to see a more detailed cost deal other than engineers. We've been doing this for, I hate to say this, 60-some years screwing with this creek. I've lived out here all my life, and it's the same old problem. I think the dredging is probably what we have to do, but I think we need to do the whole creek and not let these other freeloaders in Sylvania, they didn't seem to take it all the way up to Sylvania. Why didn't we go all the way up there and do it? Go ahead.
We did study improving more of it, and of course, the primary goal of this project to reduce the serious flooding, and there isn't that much flooding in this township where there's significant damage beyond this, and the cost, the benefits didn't exceed the cost. This is where you got the biggest bang for your buck.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is that as the creek flows down through there, if we don't clean that part up, and we get all their debris, and it just keeps coming down, and then it gets hooked with our stuff, wouldn't we want to start at the top and come down? I just...
Well, improving it more up there, unless you put detention up there, isn't going to happen. I think we should have an ongoing program of the brush control or upstream. That would definitely help. And we don't have, this doesn't include any money or cost for that. This is only improving this section.
Just this section, and that would include the dredging?
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
That area to the north off Centennial, see that's the quarry areas. You can see all the flooding in there, like basically the quarry.
Was there any look at using the quarry as a detention pond, or? I know it had been
We're still going to use it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to use that. You know, you look at your drainage area that's underwater, and that's about what you need. So if we did have the whole quarry on both sides available, I think you could probably get some benefit.
Yeah.
What I've looked at from detention, you know, people's mentioned detention, you need about, for every 40 acres, it seems like they have about 1 acre that they have for a detention pond. That's what I've seen in the subdivision. It's about 40-to-1 ratio. 68.6 acres going in there, you need about 41, you need about 1.8, you know what I mean? It's a little bit, one and a half square mile.
Yeah.
To do any good. I look at it, I'd rather have the stream. You know, every time I've been doing this since 1979, my areas where I have a ravine, there, Swan Creek, where Renwood is, that subdivision I told you, I'm not gonna flood there. I'm an apple blossom flood, I'm not gonna flood there either. That Green's guy, he gets up high. In the ravine areas, Northwood here in your subdivision, that's not gonna flood. You're not gonna see that place flood. You're not gonna get complaints for flooding. It goes down and it drains down in the ravine. I've seen that all through my years, the areas that drain the ravine. So the principle is here is, where do we want our water? I want them in the ditches in creek, and that's what this is trying to do. And basically, to carry the 100-year storm, 10 Mile Creek, you need about 2 of them, and that's what they're trying to build, basically to an area.
And the side channel storage, you have an outlet to drain it. This will drain by gravity. You use the quarries, you fill it up,
You
you
got a
got to pump it
pump.
out.
Now you got a pump.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to pump eventually. You know, even though you could help in the big storms, eventually they're gonna raise those quarries, and then now you got a pumping situation. Well, this thing, you just use it, you'll be natural. You're gonna have a natural bench there, and I'm gonna try to solve this water quality, like he said. I'd love to try to do some project here where we can say we're doing benefit for stabilizing the banks. They're talking about big on that area for stabilizing the banks. A lot of they say sediment comes from your banks itself. And 85% of the sediments, 80% of your sediments come from your banks. So if you can stabilize your banks and keep your banks good, your ditches are going to get silted up as much. So we want to do this design to stabilize that southern bank, do the work on the other bank, have a better slope on it so it's not so difficult. You see that all the trees are falling down or whatever.
Yeah.
On 10 Mile Creek, and have a more manageable slope, and have nice grass, fescue grass or whatever, or habitat, which is another thing that we need. All these things were in our TMDL in Ohio EPA, and all this, you know, so I'm trying to promote some kind of project here that we could do, sort of a new project in this area, hopefully maybe like he said, try to go for some funding for this too, you know, so if we could knock out maybe a third of that cost too, with some kind of.
Great.
John?
Yes.
I'd just like to say that, first of all, Brian and Bob are always there when I make a phone call early, they're all helping me on stormwater. I've been privy to this plan for a couple of months now. I'm all in favor for the first stage that we talked about right here. I just want to find a happy medium so we can still go into the neighborhoods and improve the stormwater in our neighborhoods. We still have some areas that are used.
That's why I recommended, rather than using all of your funds for 3.5 years, that you financing spread out over a longer period of time, so we have at least half of the funds left.
I can name, Greg knows, and we can name several areas in Sylvania, little areas that you've had drainage problems for years, and probably want to get those cleared up. And we'll get them, you know, eventually, the people are, we've done some nice ones already in Sylvania. Greg knows, and we got another one planned coming up pretty soon, we're ready to bid. That you asked us to do on Spring Street, yeah, this whole drainage, it's a win-win for you guys, and for the residents are really happy to see that drainage is probably, and your roads are gonna drain better, and John knows, as far as drainage, and you can have a better road system. So if your roadside ditches are draining better, your payments will last longer too, so it's a win there for everybody.
Our budget on the stormwater utility, of course, when we started, we didn't know what everything was going to cost. And so we budgeted half of it for the water quality stuff and half for the capital type improvements. And we didn't know what EPA is going to require, if they're going to require more or anything. But it appears that we may have more than half of the funds to use for capital improvements.
At this point right now, our administrative costs and getting the EPA requirements are less than what we thought. So we're gathering money, but I haven't spent it all either. We want to keep it there in case we have some kind of major project like this.
What's the time frame?
Yeah, best case scenario, time frame, and worst case scenario?
Well, if you decided that you wanted to move forward, it would probably take at least, what you think the earliest time that we could go to construction?
They were saying, this was an aggressive.
These tough questions are brains.
This was aggressive. They were thinking maybe 2015. That's if we were then starting right after they got the study done in April. So we're almost at April now. So the best would probably be, maybe stage 1 in 2016. That's a really optimistic. I'm thinking probably 2017.
Okay.
Closer to what it is. But somewhere in that range, 16 to 17. Or am I being optimistic?
I would think you should be able to start sometime in 16.
Okay, 16. But there's several permits you got to go through. We're going to have to go through CORE and EPA and all these things are going to do. And you got, obviously, we're going to have to survey all this plans. There's going to be a major survey to get all this thing, and then you're buying land too. We're going to have to purchase easements and stuff. It'll just take time. That takes a lot of time to get all these parcels to be buying.
And then the construction will take probably a year or two.
Yeah.
And then it's probably after you get it done, then you have to submit the studies to FEMA to get them moved. So a year and a half to get that done.
A year and a half to get that, finally get those people taken out.
Okay.
So, 16, 17,
I think they call this government bureaucracy.
That's how it rolls.
Well, we look forward to working with the county on this because I think it would be a big improvement to our community and it's long overdue.
Well, I certainly feel that it should be your decision whether you want to spend those funds in this way or not. I think the townships should be the ones to decide. I mean, we make recommendations, but I think it should be your decision.
Well, we're going to see here in the next couple days with the flooding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keith, I think the thing we should realize, and Mr. Hayes said 60 years, I don't go back that far, but this has been talked about a long time. If the stormwater district hadn't been set up, we'd still be up here saying we have no money to do anything. So
See, I didn't realize that it wasn't set up.
I appreciate very much the county setting this up because now we have some money and we need to make a decision. And when we talk about the timeline, the quicker, and I think, Keith, you're asking us as the township, what do we think? I think the quicker we give the county an answer, the quicker, whatever year it is, it's way out there to get the people out of the floodplain. But the quicker we make a decision here, I think the quicker we'll get this started. I don't know that we have to make it tonight. I'd at least like to see the report, look through it and so forth. But
I'll work
I
with,
think it would be well for us to apply pretty promptly to the county.
Yep.
I'd just like to say, when we flood out there this year, okay, when this is coming, if we could just have a visit, any one of them, people I've talked to over 60 years, I've been on and nobody comes out. You ask them, say, have you ever been out here when it's flooded? But it would be a good idea for the trustees, if they're having trouble making a decision.
I don't think any of us have any trouble making the decision. I mean, I grew up out in that area, and certainly we've all driven through it, you know, and we know that it's a problem. We've tried to take some small steps on our own when we've cleaned out the 10 Mile Creek and things, and it has improved. But again, when you see how much is actually draining into that point there, you know, it's a kind of bigger project than what the township could ever take on. So we're kind of glad the county has stepped in with their resources to even put this together. And, you know, no one is thrilled about a new tax, but at least it should be going right back to our community where we can see benefit from it.
Well, we certainly have been out there when the flood, and there's a lot we can do. We've measured the flood heights and everything. We're well aware of what the condition has been. We've seen that and talked to people, so one thing I didn't bring up, I did look at, you know, the people that are this is a relatively small part of your township that has this problem. It's probably the biggest problem we have in the township, but it's the people that are benefiting from this is 7% of the stormwater utility. So I think Greg's point that you need to be doing some other stuff and some of the other parts too is, I would certainly agree with that, but maybe you can do more in other parts later, but...
Well, I think you almost, I'm not sure you need to be careful on how you say that, because it's probably a bigger benefit than 7%, because as Brian had just mentioned, you know, you've got roads, maintenance on roads, and there's a lot more than just 7% of the township that's affected by the spring.
But the area that floods, and the money we get from that area is the same.
Got it.
What I'll be doing is I'll work with the county engineer and Keith, determine what we need to do to approve this project, and I'll get back to you with a resolution or whatever we need to do.
I mean, we definitely want to keep this ball moving, and you know, we know it's going to be a long time, but at least it's moving forward.
Gotta start at some point.
Yep.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
I didn't mention, did you guys want us to try to, even when we get the plans done, pursue, I'm thinking that you want us to pursue some type of grant, if we can get that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What, will you digitally mail this to John or what?
Yeah, as long as I get it back.
Oh, thank you.
You said you had that digitally?
Yes, I did digitally too.
Would you send that to me? You have my email, I think.
That's a copy, I'd like that.
Well, I don't
If
know.
you're going to give it to us electronically, you can have this.
Because I can tell you one thing, after you
I'm
leave.
sure I could work on
That'll
a
disappear.
couple of these. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, that'll work.
I can just send it to you.
Hey, John, before Keith leaves, this is engineer's work, and I'd like to recognize Keith's the Engineer of the Year for 2014.
Congratulations.
John was a big part of that.
Oh,
Thanks for coming in.
What was that? You blinking?
Well, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Daryl?
Wait, we need additions and deletions.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I have an addition to the agenda under Public Works Department. I'm going to be adding a resolution. Is it on there? Okay, it's on there? All right, then we'll press it. Okay, Darryl.
Hearing of the public, did anyone sign in?
I think Al did.
Nobody? Okay. So that puts Daryl up.
Good evening. The monthly report for January for the zoning department. January is kind of slow in zoning, as it typically is. We had 12 permits for the month, which is down from the previous 2 years, but the dollar value is up at almost 1.3 million in value. And that is mostly because, Jim, if you can go down a little bit there. Nope, the one above that.
There isn't anything above that.
Yeah, it's
Right there?
underneath that. Yeah, just keep scrolling down. A little bit more. There we go. We had 4 single-family dwelling permits for January, which really doesn't sound like a lot, and it isn't, considering we had 81 last year for the year, but as you can see, 4 for January is pretty good compared to the previous year, so we're off to a good start, and the dollar value is 1.1 million. So hopefully it's a good omen for this year in housing permits. Okay, next page, Jim, please. I should have shown you this last month. I didn't have it ready, but this is the last 20 years of single-family dwelling permits. And as you can see, we're still a little bit down from the 20-year average, but we're definitely on a good upswing there. We had the 81 permits last year, and that was our best year since '07. So, and we're looking to beat that this year. Okay, next page. Zoning complaints, again, slow month. We had 3 complaints for the month of January. The meetings of the zoning boards, BZA just had a short meeting. All they did was establish meeting dates and elect officers. Zoning commission did not have a meeting. They were canceled, and we did not have a project plan review. And I just have one small item of note, just an FYI, and it's actually changed since I've put this together, but we do have a zone change application coming down the road for 8739 Central Avenue. It's Mr. Orovitz. He's looking to put in a 214, that is 208, but his latest proposal is 214 unit multifamily project. This is the lot, if you remember a few years ago, they're considering putting an elementary school there. It's west of Centennial, just before her road.
I believe I just saw half of that in the map, we were looking for a floodplain, but...
Yes, exactly. Mr. Orovitz has about 5 or 6 detention ponds, large detention ponds on his plans. In fact, I think the proposed name is the Lakes on Central or something like that, which we kind of, yeah, with the flooding, we already have that. But anyway, so he's looking to zone change from A3 to R3 PUD. It was just going to be a straight R3, but it looks like the Lucas County Plan Commission probably wouldn't approve it unless it's a PUD. And it'll be before the Lucas County Plan Commission on March 26th, not February 26th. And then after that, it'll come to our zoning commission and then to the Board of Trustees. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Darrell.
Thanks,
Keep us
Darrell.
posted on the 214 unit complex.
Under the Public Works, as I said earlier, we have a this resolution is rescinding Resolution 14016, which at that time we authorized the purchase of a truck chassis, an F-550. We had a quote from Kissler Ford. After we awarded the bid to them, they sent us a letter saying that they had made a mistake and that they could no longer honor that. Talking to our legal counsel, there's really nothing that we can do about it since they were quotes and we had not officially, they had not signed any documents yet. So talking to Greg Hoffman and myself and looking at the other bids, we decided to rescind this resolution, and Greg will go out and get new quotes from vendors. It's not an urgent, I mean, we need the truck, but it's something that can wait until we go out and try to get a better deal. So this resolution is actually a resolution to rescind 14016, and this is resolution 14027. If there's any questions, Greg's here.
I'll offer resolution 14-027, rescinding resolution 14-016, authorizing the purchase of truck chassis from Kistler Ford.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Thank you. Greg, you have much else you want to say about what's going on with weather?
John, I have a question. I'm assuming you guys looked at the budget, and considering the salt usage and everything, we think we still can purchase this, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, yes. We received our last shipment of salt, 300 tons arrived Friday. That puts us at about 800, 900 ton in the dome, and that will last us about 9 more storms. So it could be worse, it could be...
I'm looking more at the money.
Oh, well...
I want to be sure that you're going to have to cut somewhere, I know that. That's up to you guys to work out, I just want to be sure that...
Mr. Crandall, I have a plan.
Good.
I've been thinking about this for several weeks now.
Probably longer than I have.
But,
Thanks.
anyways, that's where we stand with the salt. And we received our 100% of commitment. We could be worse. A lot of other communities, I know City of Maumee is in a probably a real bad situation. Well, they're...
Well, great job on your purchasing and your thought process for this last 2 years.
And hopefully this weather will help us out a little bit and get the streets back down and
Hopefully.
the piles melted away from the curbs, because, I mean, I see that more and more as the snow is in the right-of-way and starting to cause, safety issues on many streets.
Curves. What are they?
Yeah.
Thanks, Greg. Next up is the fire department with a monthly report, resolution.
Excuse me. I'll put it down, otherwise I'll drop it. Good evening. For you, you have January's monthly report. You will see, scroll all the way down to the bottom, Jim. We had 432 incidents and 589 responses during the month of January. That tallies out to 113 fires and 319 rescues. The reason you're seeing, again, responses versus incidents is not all these incidents are a single apparatus response. We have multiple apparatus going to one incident, so we give it a response for that particular incident. On page 2, we have finally gotten back our firehouse program. The guys are elated with it. We're able to start tabulating and drawing some of these categories out to give you individual tallies on a month-to-month basis on the different EMS runs that we occur throughout the month. On page 4, mutual aid incidents. We continue to have issues with ambulances, getting ambulances service to our community. The privates are not available as much as what they used to be. On page 4, you'll see there's 8 separate times during the month of January that we had to call either Springfield or Toledo Fire Division for a mutual aid ambulance to transport our customers to the hospital. On page 5 are some more incidents in which we had to transport people to the hospital and there were no ambulance available at all in the county. We had 4 instances that you'll see on that page where you'll see privately owned vehicle. These were 4 times during that time period the people were not willing to wait for the ambulance that was coming across town. It was over a 20-minute wait, so they decided to put their loved one in a car and take them to the hospital by private means. Page 5.
Now, Chief, I see the Springfield Township's up there quite a bit as
Yes, sir.
responding. I talked to Barry Kuzno recently, and he said, they have an ambulance and a fire truck in each station.
Yes, sir.
Depending on the call, they jump in it and respond. They don't have additional staff like you guys had proposed
Yes, sir.
all along.
Huh?
I mean, are we looking into something like that where we don't have to hire additional people and have more people waiting for the call, or what,
I have not asked to look into that. Just keep in mind that we are a lot busier than what Springfield Township is. We have multiple stations out, many more times than they do. To give you an example, a week ago this last Monday, we had a structure fire at 5060 Homerdale. 20 minutes into that incident, dispatch called me and said we have another regular alarm structure fire in the 9700 block of Bancroft Street. We had no resources in the township to give to that fire. We did have Toledo Fire Division Station 25 and Springfield Township Engine 51 filling in at our number 2 and our number 3 fire stations. They went to the fire. They specialed for additional 2 engines from Toledo Fire Division, then another engine because it was a very stubborn basement fire. And actually, Chief Helminski from Springfield Township ended up taking command of that fire. He responded to that. During these incidents, we also had an injury accident that required our attention. We couldn't break away any resources for that. So we called Richfield Township to come and help with that injury accident. And before we can get them on the road and get them to that scene, the people decided to drive themselves to the hospital. So we are a lot busier than what Springfield Township is as far as incidents and runs.
That was when was the last time we had 2 fires in one night?
2 fires in one night? Many times we've had 2 fires in one night. 2 major fires going on at the same time. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I know, I saw it on the news, you guys were busy as heck that night.
Yeah, we had 18 inches of snow in the front yard, trying to carry those lines around. Lines were freezing. We had a truck that froze. We ended up, during the incident, I had an interior crew, several crews interior fighting the fire, and during the incident, I had Deputy Chief Freilich in the back. He said the roof started to sag. I pulled everybody out of the building, and within a minute, the roof caved in. So we pulled everybody out so they wouldn't get injured. But it was a significant fire as well as the Bancroft fire was going on at the same time.
And the owner, I know she was transported to Flower. She was doing okay?
She was transported to Flower, ultimately released the following day. She is right now recuperating at an extended care facility. We had 1 firefighter injured during the incident. He was transported to the hospital. He will return to work tomorrow. So.
That looks like a busy month.
Yes, sir. Page 6, Jim. Public safety and education. Deputy Chief Freilich goes to the first night in Sylvania Schools kindergarten. Those were canceled and rescheduled and canceled and rescheduled, so he's finishing the last one up, I believe, tomorrow night. This is an opportunity that we get to meet the parents of kindergartners coming in. We ask them if they want to, we all sign up for Safety City and Safety Town. We are at both of those events in June. And then we pass out information about just safety in the home and in the school. Building plan reviews. We had 7 plan reviews during the month of January, 2 preschool inspections, 1 environmental review request. That was for that property at 8739 Central. 6 acceptance tests for fire protection systems, 1 public education event, 6 inspections, and 1 smoke detector install. Our inspection system, our inspection program for crews will get back in the swing of things in March. We're tabulating the numbers from last year's inspections and getting ready to start that process all over. The 3 fires that we've had recently, or 4 fires actually, Heather Place, Blossman, Bancroft, and Homerdale, we did not do a return to the scene visit in those subdivisions or in that area after the fire because of the cold weather and all the snow. We want to trample everybody's homes out. So as the weather breaks, we'll probably do it in the spring, revisit those communities and offer to install smoke detectors in their homes. On page 6 is our monthly training report. You'll see that we're back in Lucas County EMS. Let's see, January was pediatric, childbirth, and pediatric emergencies. We also, our firefighters have to recertify, just like everybody else in CPR every 2 years. We took care of the entire department in the month of January. Everybody's back up and up to date on their CPR certifications for the next 2 years. We won't see that again for 2 more years, but we do that every 2 years. In the last page, this is a EMS STEMI follow-up. This is Life Squad 6, medics Ryan Sedlock and Brian Lazowski reported to a scene where they had a 69-year-old lady. She was showing some signs of distress. She was transported to to the hospital, to their cath lab, and this is we are now bypassing our ERs and taking STEMI patients right into the cath labs with the doctors. This is something that cuts down on the time of the patient receiving definitive care. She went into cardiac arrest on the table as they were trying to put a stent in. They asked our paramedics to stay and help with the resuscitation events. They ended up putting a pacemaker in. They also did angioplasty, and they put in 2 stents. Lady survived the event with no neurological deficit, and she is recuperating at an extended care facility where she's planning on returning home. That's all I have about the report, unless you have questions for me.
I believe it was DeShetler was up at the library reading to the little kids. I know my kids were up there and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Lieutenant DeShetler volunteered to go up and read a book to the kids up at the library. Yeah. And he had about probably as much fun as the kids did. So.
Well, I know you guys are very active, and it certainly makes a big impression on those younger kids to get comfortable around firemen, and you guys do a great job
Good.
of public service. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes. I have one other item on my agenda. We have, as you know, when we remodeled our stations, we had lockers, gear lockers that couldn't be used in the new stations, so we ended up selling some of them, and we had some left. Spencer Township, who are putting on more firefighters, they went to outfitting their stations during the day with on-duty personnel. They are interested in some of those lockers and asked us if we'd be willing to donate some to them, and I see no reason we can't donate them, so I'm offering Resolution 14-026 to donate equipment lockers to Spencer Township Fire Department.
I'll offer Resolution 14-026.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Nothing else? Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Yep.
Thank you. Next up is the fire department.
Police Department.
Oh, I'm sorry, police department.
I don't want to do that again.
It was so good, he wants to hear it.
Evening.
Morning, afternoon.
First of all, I apologize for missing the memo on the blue blazers. Gentlemen, I believe you get the report every month, a week or so before the meeting, so basically, unless you have any questions, there's only 1 or 2 things I'd like to mention specifically, and that is on page 8, I believe it is, the bulk currency task force. That's relatively new for us, and we have an officer assigned to that. And we had our first big hit. We recovered $103,000 from 2 individuals who had no idea how the money got in the back of their car. And it was just, that happens to me all the time. I look in the back seat of my car, they had no idea where it came from. It turns out that's from the Millennium Cartel. It's a major cartel out of Mexico. Wow. These guys come down here about every other week or so and get that kind of money. We also got their car. So this is our first big hit, and we hope that it'll continue, and we will benefit from that, obviously, with some forfeiture money.
Nice.
Also like to mention regards to our officers, and I was very proud of them as well. I know you are. In the recent firefighter deaths and the funerals that followed, we were assigned to Walker Funeral Home, and I was real proud to stand out there with those guys in the cold and the rain and stuff, and they really did a nice job. We got a lot of nice compliments from my former colleagues in Toledo, and it was quite a thing. Several of those guys volunteered to stay in their own time afterwards just to help out, so I just wanted to make a little commendation to them. Is there any questions on the monthly report?
No.
Okay. I also have a resolution, and that is to increase fees. Number 1 would be for fingerprints. It would be $20 for up to 3 fingerprint cards, and another $5 additional for each $5 for each additional fingerprint card, and also to increase our vehicle impound storage to $15 a day. That would be our on-site storage. These fees have not been increased since 2003, and they are in line with other agencies. They are in line with the local toll lots that we deal with as well.
I'll offer Resolution 14-024 to increase the fees for the Sylvania Township Police Department.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Good seeing you.
Thank you, Chief.
Hey, John, along the line of the fingerprints, could you get together with the police department, volunteers like Tasmania Family Services and things in the community? I'm wondering, I forget what they pay, but it's quite a bit if you volunteer for after-school activities. They're not being paid.
I think that's the fingerprint you're doing, isn't it? For when volunteers come in, need to be fingerprinted for
Sylvania
coaches and things like
organizations.
that. Yeah,
Do
that's,
we charge for that?
Be honest with you, I don't know.
I'd like you to take a look at it. I'm not saying,
Okay.
I just think when they're volunteers, like, say.
coaches and,
Coaches and that, and they're not being paid. I know some of the organizations charge for that fee, and I'm thinking if it's a Sylvania organization, maybe we could take a look at helping with that or something.
if you find out, then call me.
Do that and get back with us.
See if the city couldn't pick up that charge.
I messed up as administrator and I have nothing. Mr. Simcoe, fiscal officer?
We've got the month-end analysis for January of 2014. There it is, and there's not really much really to say because, as you all know, this is after the first month of operation. Our expenditures are up a little bit more than what might be expected, but if you read the report, we're not concerned about it really at all, and plus it's just the first month. We'll see what's happening after about 3 months or so as we start picking up trends. If there aren't any questions, I've got resolution on that analysis. I have resolution number 14-025, and it's a resolution of the Board of Trustees to renew its active deposits of public monies to eligible financial institutions. And as all of you, I think, except John so far, have served on the investment committee, and we do have, public funds that we get that come into the township, and of course, they aren't all expended right away. It's kind of an up and down thing as taxes come in, and then we expend the money. And we deposit that money in various banks that apply to us, and they have to meet certain statutory criteria for them to hold public monies. And then they also, in the investments, they have to meet certain statutory criteria too to invest that money. And most of our monies, almost all of them, are insured by the government, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. We have a couple of investments where the investment goes beyond what they can insure, so they have to pledge collateral to us in order to keep our investments safe. And so there's two things going on here. One, there's the statute that we have to comply with, but the committee itself, which consists of myself and Jim Beck and John Zeitler, and one of the trustees is currently, I think, Neil. We just had our first meeting as we reorganized. We make sure that these banks all comply with the statute, and we also watch the money too, because where it's invested and making sure that it's insured, so the money's like safe, because the criteria for the committee is always preservation of principle on these things. So in any event, right now we have had several banks that have applied. We try also where we can to keep our money local and in the community, and so you'll see a little bit of a tilt toward that. We have Signature Bank, a Waterford Bank, Genoa Bank. Genoa sounds like it's out in Elmore or wherever it is, but actually, if but Genoa, and where the Genoa Quarry is, because I used to go swimming there as a kid, and and the ice cream store is there too. But they're actually, as we know, opening up a branch bank right at Monroe and Whiteford, and Fifth Third Bank, and then Star Ohio. That is the fund that I think the state treasurer has for us, and we have some monies there too, but not right now very much, because their interest rate return has been very poor, and so we just frankly, keep the account open there in the hopes that it'll increase, but right now we do better with the banks that are listed here. So, in any event, we need to have this resolution passed, and it's Resolution 14-025. And so if someone would propose that. Okay.
Second?
Okay, I'll call the roll. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Yes, that's all I have.
Okay.
Great job keeping an eye on that, too.
Well, we do.
You do a great job with
It's a
that.
good committee that works on that. We got more than one eye on our money.
Mr. Beck, I know he's a big part of that.
Oh,
Keeps a
yes.
tight eye on everything.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any open discussion?
We're good?
We have one person sign in for non-agenda items. Mr. Hayes?
Hey, guess who, huh, boy? Al Hayes, 7040 Whitetail Court. Couple quick things. I'm the vice chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Daryl and John Barone, how do you say it? Burrell, gave us a class, quite lengthy in the zoning and everything. It was excellent, absolutely excellent. I've sat on there, a couple, 3 years, and I tell you, I learned more that night, and I've read the books before, but it was really good. Also, I'd like to commend my friend here that did an excellent job on my street. I'm sure he knows I'd call him if he didn't. He did an excellent job on my snow removal in the township. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sal.
Okay, so with that, I would like to offer a motion to adjourn at 7:02. Did you have anything else, Mr. Zeitler? I'm sorry. Okay.
Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Oh, Mr. Mahoney. All right. Well, Mr. Crandall.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Genowine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, everybody.
I was going to abstain.
How are you? Hey, Mike.
How are you?
Great. It's all good. Is my hair all blown up?
I think she should have.
Okay.
You ready?
So I'd like to call to order the meeting for March 18th, 2014 at 6 o'clock. Okay, the roll call?
Sure. Trustee Crandall?
Present.
Trustee Mahoney?
Here.
Trustee Genowine is absent. And fiscal officer, Mr. Simcoe, is absent.
We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Susan. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, did you get a chance to look at the minutes? Any questions or additions or deletions to that at all?
You know, there was one thing, I think on the minutes, it says Keith Early presented plans to us. It was actually a study.
Is actually what?
A study
Okay.
that he gave us. Yeah, we should probably correct that.
It's a good
Because
catch.
he'll move into plans at our request.
All right, that's a good catch. Other than that, I don't have any questions. We make a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second?
On the roll, Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes. Do we have additions or deletions to the
Yes,
agenda?
under the administrator, I have one additional resolution, where you're authorizing the administrator to send a letter to the county engineer in regards to that presentation he made last week or last meeting.
Okay, awesome. And then, do we have anybody that signed up for
No.
tonight? Okay. Well, we'll keep it going. Daryl, you good?
Good evening. This will be brief. February was not a particularly great month for the zoning department. We had 12 permits for the month, which is down from the past 2 years, and at a estimated dollar value of $924,000. I'm attributing that to the unseasonably harsh winter that we had. I don't recall what the past 2 Februaries were like, but I'm sure they weren't as bad as this past one. Year-to-date on permits, we're at 24, which is down from the past 2 years, although the dollar value at just under 2.2 million is pretty close to where we were 2 years ago. Single-family dwelling permits, for the first time in over a year, we actually are down a little bit. We had 7, year-to-date, we're at 7, which is 30% down from last year. And we are 15% down on dollar value of single-family dwelling permits. On the good side, we've already had 5 for the month of March, and we're only halfway through March, so hopefully it's going to be picking up as the weather gets better. Next page, please, Jim. The good thing about winter with zoning is we had 0 complaints for the month. You know, no high grass, nobody could see garbage. It's just, there's something to be said for winter. And we're at 3 for year-to-date for the month. And then our meetings for the month. Oops. Up one, please, Jim. The bottom of that page. Thank you. The BZA, we had a review session, I guess you would call it, for BZA with Mr. Burrell from the Lucas County Prosecutor's Office coming in, and just kind of a refresher for the veterans on the zoning appeals, and for the newer members, sort of a long overdue orientation as far as BZA procedures, legalities, things like that. The zoning commission really didn't have an agenda. All they did was establish the meeting dates, time, and elect the officers. Project plan review, we had the Marshalls and Home Goods that will be over the shops at Franklin Place. As far as items to report, there, well, like I already mentioned, the BZ